Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about psychology and true crime. I have an entire Lori Daybell, Chad Daybell playlist. I recently covered Lori's Lori going back and forth with the judge, and the judge is starting to set more and more boundaries with her. And day two, the jury was not present. So outside of the presence of the jury, the judge kicked Lori out of court to talk with her counsel because he wasn't going to go back and forth with her. I think she likes going back and forth. I think she likes fighting and arguing, and he set very clear boundaries. We talked about gray rocking, and some people thanked me and thanked the chat for talking about gray rock and yellow rock. And sometimes, and I'll point it out when I see the judge doing this, sometimes the judge, he's just there is no emotional, like his tone is all flat, and he just says, I said what I said. And that would be an example of gray rock. I think what he recently the way that she was excused from court, that might have been a little yellow rock, or it was very firm boundaries. And I don't think he was inappropriate. Like she was accusing him of yelling at her. And what he did was he was just standing up, and I think he was speaking so that the court could hear, because he was standing up, and I think he was setting a very, very clear boundary. And Lori's like, boundary who? Boundary where? Like she only respects the boundaries she sets. She does not respect the boundaries of others. And in my opinion, she attempts to manipulate and to try to work around boundaries. And I think her even trying to accuse him of yelling at her, I think, and he was very clear, no, I wasn't. And so if you haven't seen that part, we are going to get there. It happens, I think, right before their first break. This judge is also not playing with her attorneys either. So Lori Vallow Daybell has decided to represent herself. And in the state of Arizona, she is not entitled to have advisory counsel. They have given her advisory counsel because, like just in case she decided not to represent herself, or they just wanted counsel ready just so that it wouldn't delay the court proceedings or anything like that. And when I saw all of this, I was like, "Oh my gosh," because I was only planning on talking about the mushroom trial today, but I saw all of this and I was like, "This cannot wait until Tuesday." So let's go on ahead and listen to the very beginning where day two, the judge woke up with boundaries in mind, in my personal opinion. So let's get into this right here. I will turn on closed captioning, and we are at normal speed. Okay? I think it's about to start.
One of the advisory council said he would be late today because he had a childcare issue, but that Ms. Hicks, the other advisory council, would be here and ready to start at 9:30. What time did that email come in?
Just the email came in at 9:20 that she was printing off pictures.
All right, so we got an email at 9:20 saying she's still at her office printing off pictures, which is wholly unacceptable. Ms. Daybell, you represent yourself. You do not need your advisory council here, but I'm going to split the difference. She's being sent an email that says if she's not here at 9:50, we're going to start. If there's pictures that need to be printed off, staff can do that. Staff can bring it over later, but should have been here at 9:30. If this were federal court, she'd probably be going into custody. I mean, this is ridiculous. All right, I'm just letting everyone know what the holdup is. We're going to start at 9:50.
Judge, at 9:50, I do need to make a record.
All right. And so they just wanted to make a record later of some things. So I want to skip ahead to Lori cross-examining Brandon Boudreaux. Anybody that is new to this case, so Lori Vallow, this is her third trial. She's already been convicted of the murders of her daughter, son, and Chad Daybell's wife, Tammy. So the person she ended up marrying very soon after Tammy's death, she's already been convicted of those. That was her first trial. Her second trial, she was then convicted of conspiracy to commit first degree here in Arizona. That trial just happened, and now this is her second trial in Arizona about an attempt on Brandon Boudreaux. And I wanted to talk a little bit about their back and forth, because the judge warns her that she needs to make sure that she doesn't go down certain rabbit holes. I skipped the opening statement. So in Lori's opening statement, she tried to make it sound like I'm a loving person. I don't have anything against anybody. Like, why would I ever attempt to harm anybody else? And it's like, ma'am, you are a four-time convicted murderer. And so, like, you can't go in front of this jury and not think the state isn't going to attempt to get evidence in of her past. If she's trying to say I have great character, then that other information is going to come forward. In my opinion, so I've already watched, so we're not going to watch all of the cross examination with her. She is so he survived the attempt, and she seemed to focus on some allegations that he was gay, and I think Lori just didn't want Brandon and her cousin, or her niece, I think it's her niece, and her niece Melanie, I don't think she wanted the two of them together, because I think Lori wanted to separate Melanie from Brandon so that Lori could attempt to control Melanie more. The state is also said that they have not ruled out charging Melanie in the future with. So the state has not said whether or not they might charge her in the future, because Lori's almost making it sound like there were other people that benefited from this and I had nothing. I had no reason to want Brandon deceased, which but that's where all of her conniving, because the jury does not know that Charles Vallow is deceased. So when Brandon talks about talking with Charles Vallow, this jury is not aware that he's deceased and Lori's convicted of conspiring for him to not be here anymore. And it's just this has just been a messy mess. In your opinion, why do you think she is more difficult this trial? So I think she has less to lose. I also think she hasn't got her way with this judge. So I think she was maybe hopeful that she could manipulate things and that a jury would see things her way. If she had been found not guilty in the first trial, I don't think she would be as reactive now. I think her being found guilty again, and she's already going to have to be sentenced for that. She doesn't like the aggravator phase. So if she is convicted of this crime as well, then there will be another aggravator phase, and she might stipulate to that again. So in her first Arizona trial, so the one for her husband Charles Vallow, when it got to proving for the jury to try to decide the aggravators, Lori said, I don't want any more testimony, because Charles's family was ready and prepared to get up and give statements. And Lori was like, nope. I stipulate that yes, it was a violent act. Yes, a pew pew was used. And so she didn't want any additional testimony for the jury. I think that's her attempting to control things. She's losing control and she desperately wants control, and things are not going her way. And so in my opinion, she's having a bit of a tantrum. My personal thoughts is emotionally, on a good day, Lori's emotions are about 15 years old. On a bad day, she can go down to like 6 or 8. Like she can have tantrums. So my 7-year-old has more emotion regulation than Lori Vallow, because now when he doesn't get his way, he gets upset. He might, but he doesn't try to go back and forth. Like, I'm able to set a boundary. He respects that boundary. If he does try to go back and forth, all I have to do is say, "What did I say?" And he respects that. So Lori is used to using her looks, her words, trying to be the victim. In my opinion, she does those things to try to get her way. All right. That was a great question. Thank you so much for the question. Thank you all so much for being here. And thank you to Sarah for, let me see. So thank you for gifting 2 memberships, Sarah. Welcome to Julie for being a new member. And then I had my crisp. So we started a little late because I needed to finish my lunch. And so welcome everybody. We are going to hop back into this test. We're gonna go right into the cross-examination of Brandon Boudreaux, the victim in this.
Examination out of order. We're now going to complete that. So I'm going to ask Mr. Boudreau to come back up. All right, sir, go ahead and have a seat on the witness stand. You're still under oath. I'll just remind you to try to speak into that microphone.
Let me see.
All right, the defendant can start her cross-examination of this witness.
You did a really good job. I agree.
Your Honor, when Robert Abernathy gets here, he has some photos and things I need to have marked. So
Okay.
can we stop for a minute when he gets here to do
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Just have him go right up to the clerk when he gets here. And get
Okay.
him marked.
I'm glad that somebody pointed out Brandon's likability, because Lori, in her opening statement, she tried to make it sound like I'm not a confrontational person. I'm a loving person, but to me, she was combative with him at times. And so we are going to watch a little bit of that today.
Mr. Boudreau, you and I met in 2009. Is that correct?
I believe we met in 2008.
Okay. Before you got married, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you got married in 2009. Is that correct?
I believe I was married October 31st, 2008.
Okay. But that's when we met. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
So we've known each other a long time. Is that correct?
A long time can mean a lot of different things.
Since 2008.
Correct.
Okay. And we had a familial connection. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we always had a friendly relationship, you and I. Is that
Always?
correct?
Always?
I wouldn't say always.
I wouldn't say always.
Okay. Until what time?
Until probably end of 2018.
Okay. And we spent many holidays together.
We did.
And you and Melanie were married a little over 10 years. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I was there at your wedding. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I came to Utah to help you when your first child was born. Is that correct?
I'm going
Okay.
to object to relevance.
Yeah.
I'll allow it. Go ahead.
Correct.
And I was there when your second child was born. Is that
Okay.
correct?
You were not present when my child was born, but
Well, I came to help and watched Braxy, so I was there.
you visited you were with my family. Correct.
Okay. And I flew in from Hawaii when Blake was born to help with the kids, and I watched them while you and Melanie were at the hospital.
again
Is that correct?
Object again to character evidence.
Sustain.
Ooh. That was her warning about character evidence.
And I did watch the kids when Breezy was born as well. Is that
Your Honor,
correct?
I'm going to object and ask
Sustained.
to go into 405 soon.
And we went on vacations together, you and I. Is that correct?
Gonna-
Ms. Vallow, okay, move on to relevant information, okay? You've established you have a relationship with him that's close family relationship since 2008. So go ahead.
So that's, I told you I would point out when the judge did kind of a gray rock thing. So the judge was just like, hey, like, we got it. Move on, please. Okay.
And you came to visit me in Hawaii a few times. Is that correct?
And Your Honor, I'm going to object.
I'm just asking in the sense that it was him coming to me.
All right,
There's things that happened there that I'm going to.
approach.
Okay.
I'm going to fast forward. And so the judge does allow her to go up to the bench. Because we weren't sure if they were going to have sidebars using the headphones or if they were going to do them at the bench. And even if he did before, he doesn't now. Like you were
Brendan,
involved.
you and I had never had an argument with each other. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct.
That's not correct.
Okay, when did we ever have an argument? You and I.
I'm going to object to relevance.
It might
Is
be.
there something specific about that? Are we talking in 10 years?
I'll overrule it. You can answer.
The most recent argument that I would say we have is when I was texting you in June.
That was June 25th, 2019. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And had you been upset with me before that time?
Are you talking about ever in our lives?
Yeah.
I'm sure we're all human. I'm sure there was times I was upset with you.
Is there something specific that you were upset with me about before the June 25th text messages?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to relevance if there's something more specific.
Sustain.
Were you upset with me about Juice Island?
I don't know what that
I'm going to object as to relevance
Juice Island.
and 404.
Sustain.
Brendan, you had mentioned before that Melanie and I were close. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you were aware that I loved Melanie.
Okay.
Is that correct?
I can't say if you loved her or not.
The way she shows love, like she only loves you if you're doing what she wants you to do. If you stop doing what she wants you to do, you might become dark and you might not be here anymore. So, I mean, that's not love to me. So I get why he was like, I don't know if you loved her. Because to me, I think she used Melanie. I think she uses people in her life. I'm not sure if she has the capacity to love somebody for who they are and where they are. I feel like the witnesses have been really prepared and have done a really good job with just answering the questions. Because when you're working with a defendant as their own lawyer, so Lori's the one asking these questions, you know. So he believes that she was part of the reason why there was an attempt on his life. Like that's going to bring up emotions for people. And I just think he's doing a phenomenal job just staying factual and saying these things. And that's where we talk about narcissistic harm and people recovering from narcissistic harm. Because Lori will love you if you're doing what she wants you to do, saying what she wants you to say, and you are listening to her. You think she's the best, but the minute you try to give her some feedback, the minute you do something she doesn't like, she can turn pretty quickly. And so, yeah.
But you saw that over the 10 years that you were married to her, right?
Okay.
You witnessed it with your own eyes.
What is it you're asking that I witnessed?
Me loving Melanie.
as I said, I can't state what you did or did not feel. I can't say what you felt.
But I acted in a way that was loving towards her in as far as you knew.
I'm going to object again to relevance, 404 and 405 character evidence.
Sustain.
So we were all together as a family frequently, is that correct?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. And there were times when we were at your house as well as my house, is that correct?
An objection to relevance.
Sustained.
And until you sent me that text message on June 25th that we read yesterday, you and I had never had any disagreements with each other. Is that correct?
I would not agree with that statement.
You and I had ever had an argument?
Can you ask that question again?
Did you and I ever have an argument?
And again, as to foundation of when,
I'll allow him to answer. You can answer.
I'm sure we had, I don't know how you would define argument, but disagreements.
Face to face, you and I? Before the June 25th,
Hold on.
that's all I'm asking, just before
Okay,
that.
maybe rephrase it.
So by the time we met in 2008 until June 25th, 2019, did you and I ever have an argument?
Is there something you're looking for that you're trying to specify? And I'm not sure I can, that's a broad question that I can't think of a specific time where we argued face to face, if that's what you're looking for.
Because I don't think he's
Correct. So you and I have never had an argument in our lifetimes.
I wouldn't agree with that. I would say that there have for sure been disagreements between us, but I can't think of a specific time that I could share where me and you face to face argued. I'm not a confrontational person.
Okay. You've known me for all these years. Am I a confrontational person?
and I'm going to object to character
So-
evidence under 404 and 405.
Sustain.
If I was the state, I would have let him answer that. She asked, "Am I a confrontational person?" Ma'am, you are convicted of like four people that we know of. You have been convicted of 4. And you're on trial for an attempt of another. And you're trying to say, "I'm not a confrontational person." And that's where her lack of insight and her lack of awareness into how other people see her, because she sees herself as a good person. She sees herself as a good mom. She sees herself in this positive light because she likely has some narcissistic traits and her ego is very well protected. Very, very well protected. There was a question, aren't all cluster B personality disorders narcissistic to some extent? And so I would say no to that one. So individuals with borderline personality disorder, they typically don't have a grandiose sense of self. Their sense of self is based on the relationship that they have with other people. Within that cluster B, so often the antisocial can have some like inflated sense of self, but they don't necessarily have to. And so those are my own personal, like when we look at the classic, but sometimes people do have features of both. So there sometimes a person can have features of multiple cluster B personalities, but I wouldn't say that all cluster B personalities have some narcissistic traits to some extent. There is some issue with the identity and the sense of self within all cluster B personality disorders. All right. I hope that's helpful. We are here to nerd out about psychology, and then we try to see how it relates to the crime or whatever case that we're covering. All right, and this is a good place for me to pause and talk about gray rock. So when you're working with an antagonistic person, and so it's not just somebody that has narcissistic traits, but it's somebody that likes to go back and forth. If they're using arguing as a way to try to manipulate and control, there is a technique called gray rock where you're you withhold the emotional reaction. So when they're screaming and yelling at you, you're trying to be dull and boring like a rock. So you're not feeding that fire. You're not fanning it. You're not giving it oxygen or energy. You do have to be careful with this. And Dr. Ramani, because somebody asked me to do a video on gray rock, and I think Dr. Ramani, she already has a ton of really great resources and videos on YouTube, and so I actually linked one of her videos where she talks about, because sometimes not responding can make the antagonistic person escalate even more because they desperately want and need that reaction. Their narcissistic supply, like they require you to see them and see how mad they are and react with them, because that's sometimes how they think you care, which is ooh, like that's not a good sign. But what it does is it ends up tiring out the victim, the person that's a victim of this harm, because going back and forth with them does not help. And if nothing else, in my opinion, it often makes things 20 times worse. And not giving in to that back and forth, it helps, it protects my peace. So I have worked with individuals that have family members with narcissistic traits or that have antagonistic styles. I've worked with clients that have bosses, they're in toxic work environments. And we talk about using a strategy like this at times just to help not make a conflict 20 times worse and for them to come out exhausted and tired and all of those things. And so I hope that's helpful. All right. Uh yes. Dr. Ramani has a narcissism glossary videos describing all these terms. All right. There's also yellow rock. So gray rock is no reaction at all. So they're blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, I'll talk to you. Like, we can't do this right now. So gray rock is not reacting or responding at all. It's withholding all the emotion. Yellow rock is showing a little emotion, but not being reactive. And so an example of yellow rock, if let's say somebody is yelling and screaming at me, saying, I can see you're upset. But, like, it's just when people yell, my brain shuts down. Like, I wanna hear you, like, let's come back to this later. So that would be acknowledging their emotion. And so yellow rock would be a little bit more, it's not gray. It's not that flat, no emotional response at all. So, I hope that's helpful. Thank you, Kathy. Love your channel and your view on the individuals that we watch. Yes. Oh my gosh. It's and we try to learn from it, okay? Like that's my goal. I don't cover something unless it's like, okay, what can we learn from this? What can we take for this? Brandon Boudreau, he is doing a phenomenal job managing himself. If I was on this jury, I would be looking at her like, what's like what? And because she's charged with, like, attempting to take him out, and she's being combative with him, in my opinion. That's how it's coming off to me. It's coming across aggressive. I just twisted it out this morning. Thank you.
Would you agree that I supported you as a husband and a father to your children?
Not completely.
I'm going to object to relevance.
Sustain.
So in your testimony yesterday, you talked about this long argument that you had with Melanie. Was that on the same day, on June 25th, 2019?
It was.
Okay. And you said it was a long argument. How long did that go on?
It started in the afternoon and it went through past midnight.
So several hours.
Yes.
And you remember this date because that was the day you sent me those text messages. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say that's the only reason I remember that date. It's a painful date.
Okay. So you remember that date specifically?
Of course.
Yeah, I do remember that day.
Okay. And you had mentioned that this argument started as a result of Melanie not wanting to attend your grandfather's funeral. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you were aware that Melanie had trauma with all funerals because her mother passed away when she was 9. Is that correct?
Object to relevance.
I'll overrule the objection. He can answer if he knows the answer.
I can't say why Melanie was feeling the way she was feeling. I'm not Melanie.
But you know she had an issue with funerals before your grandfather passed away.
As I said, I'm not Melanie. I can't say what she had an issue with or not.
But you're aware that her mother passed away when she was 9, right?
Yes, I'm aware her mother passed away.
And that she
And it's like Lori is now trying to make, like, I don't know, in her mind, 'cause I'm trying to see like where she's going with this, and I'm not sure where she's going with this, but I think she's trying to make Brandon look like a bad guy, or trying to explain why Melanie was maybe upset. Because, but I don't think this has anything to do with what we're talking about, does it? Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. Like, this just seemed out of nowhere, and she stayed with it. Like, she was so focused on this, and it doesn't seem important to me.
had to go to the funeral.
I'm going to object to relevance.
Also staying at this point. Go ahead. Next question.
But she's your wife of 10 years, so you knew that about her. Is that correct?
And again, I'm going to object to relevance, the same
Abstain.
question.
It's completely understandable that you would want your wife at your side at your grandfather's funeral. So a disagreement between a couple would begin over that issue. That's not
Objection to
far-fetched, right?
testifying.
That's a statement. Can you, if you want to phrase it as a question, go ahead.
So your argument began because of this issue with not wanting to go to your grandfather's funeral. Is that correct?
Yes.
And was Melanie upset or crying at that point?
No, just me.
Okay. So during this long, several-hour disagreement, you would have covered a myriad of topics. Is that correct?
Can you define a myriad of topics?
Just several different things probably came up during this very long argument.
We talked about several different things, yes.
Okay. And one of those things I had come up in the conversation. Is that correct?
So focused on when she comes up. Like, when people are talking about her, remember with Nancy Joe, and Lori just knew that she was the center of everybody's like, she was like, "Oh, so y'all spent y'all's entire day talking about me." And Nancy Joe, just chef's kiss, was like, "Everything is not about you." Like, no, we did not spend the entire date talking about you. Ugh. Okay. Um I love the sarcasm in this. So if Lori was willing to work on things and was coming willingly and not Lori, because I don't work with, she's going to be behind bars, and I'm not a forensic person, so I don't go into prisons. I used to go into juvenile justice facilities and do assessments. If I got a referral for one, depending on the referral, I still do those. But I don't. Once you're convicted of something like this, I'm not going to be the right therapist. And I don't think she thinks there's anything wrong with her. So I don't think Lori would willingly go to any treatment. And I personally feel she's a major risk and danger to her family, to other people. Like, she's a major risk in my opinion. All right. Pablo Escobar had a lot of hippos on his campus. Hippocampus, that memory. Oh, thank you, Sarah. You love that joke. I think you've done that one before. All right, let's keep going.
One of the things that came up was you getting your tempo recommended and me hacking your computer.
So I'm saying I was brought up in that long conversation just the one time.
I don't know if I could say just the one time. It was quite a long time we spent on that particular topic, which was bothersome.
Okay. So as you were trying to change the subject, Melanie was going back to that?
As I was trying to understand why it was important to her, she focused very much on the subject, yes.
Okay.
We're going to take a little break from Lori for just a second to celebrate 1,000 concurrent videos, viewers, and then we'll hop right back into this. Okay, real quick. All right, let's keep it going.
And you had stated before that Melanie saw me as a mother to her. Is that correct?
I said a mother-like figure.
Right. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that your mother-in-law would be brought into a very long argument. Is that correct?
Objection, speculation, relevance.
This
Or
is
someone close to your wife.
Sustained.
we're all the way in the lead.
But I was not the focus of that entire argument. Is that correct?
My focus was my family, my wife and my children.
Exactly.
I love them and I didn't want them to go through pain.
Oh,
Is that what you spent all those hours arguing?
that was because of
Yeah,
you. That was because of you, Lori. Like she just doesn't get it. It was because of her meddling and her stuff and all the things she was saying to Melanie and her trying to pull them apart. It's almost like when she talks about Charles Vallow and Tylee not getting along. I strongly feel and believe that Lori was in the middle of all of that. I think Lori liked when people were not getting along, and I think she likes being at the center of it all. Like she just wants to be. And ma'am, you're not. You're just not. Oy.
because I love them and I wanted to work through things with my wife. Yes, I didn't spend it for any other reason.
And during this argument, there were several issues that you discussed. Is that correct?
I think the
Correct.
Okay.
the gay thing is going to come.
And one of those issues was Melanie informing you of text messages that she had viewed.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Is one of those issues a video of you on Facebook dancing at the pink pony that Melanie showed you?
Object to relevance, to
And also, let's just say, so I have not seen the pink pony video, okay? And let's say, and just because a person dances does not mean that they are necessarily gay. Like I don't like this is coming across a little phobic to me personally, because also like, and she focused on this before the break, and then after the break she went back to it again. And so we're about to get to the point where the judge, I think in about, let's see how much time. No, we still have a lot more time. So we're probably going to skip ahead to when she gets kicked out of court. But the whole pink pony thing. Oh, okay. So because I don't know about the pink pony. Okay, it's just a pub, and he was just dancing. Like, who cares? It's a restaurant. I don't like. And I think she's trying to do a smear campaign. So in her trial, where she's on trial for attempting to unalive him, she's trying to like smear because she knows the world is watching. And so I personally don't believe anything that she's saying right now. I don't believe it at all. It's kind of the same way that she tried to make Nancy Joe look bad. Like, oh, so she's like Nancy Joe's out here dating married men, and Nancy Joe was like, no. And Lori was having an active affair with Chad, who was married, and she's over here forgetting this fact and trying to go off on poor Nancy. I just can't. But we are gonna just watch a little bit more of it. Um, yeah, she's and I don't think he is. So I want to make sure. So I don't think, and even if he was, so I wouldn't care if he was, but I don't think he is, and I think she's just trying to make him look bad, which I don't think that looks good for her in front of the jury. Like I don't know how this helps her, but she doesn't make good decisions. This doesn't make any sense. And no lawyer would be going in on him about this, which is why I think she wanted to represent herself. No lawyer would be sitting here talking about the pink pony for another 30 minutes. and then again after break.
404B evidence and 403.
Sustained.
Did Melanie show you a video of yourself
Object
during
again to
that
the same
argument?
manner.
Sustained.
Sustained. Lori, move on. She's not going to move on.
What else was discussed in this argument?
Objection, relevance, foundation, something specific.
I'll sustain the objection.
How many topics would you say were gone over during this long argument?
I couldn't say.
Oh. I agree, Lisa. We're smearing his reputation. It reminds me of Jody Hildebrandt. Okay, so we're going to skip ahead a little bit because I just can't with her right now. But all right, so we're going to skip ahead just a little bit because she's going to go back to the gay ping pong. She's going to go back to that stuff. So let's go.
She's the one that convinced her that I'm gay?
Improper impeachment, refreshing. I'm not sure what she's doing.
Sustained.
Would you like to read it again?
No,
If you would like me to, I can read it again.
Okay,
he's so kind because I would have said no thanks.
it's line 251.
And that voice is her being a mean girl and trying to sound kind, but it's mean and passive aggressive to me.
Thank you. Did that refresh your recollection?
Yes, I read a different line. That is the in 251. I did specifically say that I thought you.
That I had convinced her?
Sure, I guess.
Can you ask that
That I
question?
had convinced Melanie that you were gay?
I said that I specifically thought that you had been involved in convincing her that I'm gay. Yes, correct.
Okay. And so she did not show you herself a video of you dancing at the Pink Pony.
Object
Is that
again, Your
correct?
Honor, to relevance to
Sustained.
404B.
It's all sustained.
And what was your understanding of how I convinced Melanie of this accusation?
Of speculation.
Can we sidebar?
And they're going to do it over the thing, and I'm just going to watch the judge's face. So I am going to let this part play out. I think Stephen Stearns, but I think because I don't his but that just might be me. To me, I would say Stephen Stearns is worse than hers. That's just my thoughts. But I think they are doing things in a legal way that won't hurt anything on appeal. So yes, I think the prosecutor and judge they're setting boundaries with her. And because if you give Lori a little bit, she's going to take a whole bunch. So you have to be firm with the boundaries, and she has less to lose this trial. I also think the state is objecting more, and the state already has one conviction. They already have the bigger conviction of conspiracy for first degree capital M. And so yeah. Okay. A lot of people are agreeing with me that Stephen Stearns' voice gets them. And a part of that is also what he's accused of and everything he did too. While what Lori did was hideous and it was vile, and I'm sure we don't know everything of the harm that she did. Stephen Stearns, ugh. 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 I just can't. All right, we're gonna fast forward a little bit. I think they're going to excuse the judge because I think this is around the time she starts getting mad with the judge. Let's see. The judge is he's doing his poor forehead. She's giving him a headache. But I think this is his like calm. Sometimes we touch our face to calm down. And I think this is one of his self-soothing tells. I do think it is. Uh, she only wants the rules that benefit herself. Yeah, Sarah Boone's voice gets me too. Uh, gosh. Yeah. So they're still going back and forth. I think they're going to excuse the jury soon. And so, I mean, because because you see Lori looking over. I think Lori is getting upset. I I can't wait because I think after the trial, the sidebar transcripts come out. I would love to know what this back and forth was because I think it was heated. And eventually, I think they realized that they're not going to be able to do it
Jury,
over.
we're going to take a 15-minute recess, morning recess. We will resume in about 15 minutes. Please remember the admonition.
All rise to the jury.
And so she's smiling at the jury. Some of the jurors were creeped out last time by the way she was looking at them. I don't know if she has that feedback. She smiles like she's not on trial for like something serious. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it fits. Her suit doesn't seem like it fits very well, but I don't know what her choices were. It's all right.
All right, please be seated. The jury is no longer present. We've concluded that sidebar, a record's been made. I would just caution the defendant, again, she needs to be very careful and she's getting into areas that could open a huge door that I don't think she wants open. I'm going to make another record at 10:24 to 10:25. We held a sidebar that I don't think made it onto the court record. That sidebar again discussed similar issues of if the defendant brings in evidence or testimony that she was a good person and no ill intent and those sorts of things and specific acts of her being a good person, it could open the door to other things that she may not want the door open to. The state, the defendant, and advisory council were at the bench when we had that short 1 minute sidebar, but I don't know if anyone wants to supplement the record on that. Ms. Kay?
Just, Your Honor, that again, the state did raise any issue of character evidence under 404A and 405, that if the defendant opens the door and tries to advise that she is a good person, a peaceful person, a kind person, a loving person, any of those other types of things, that we believe that would allow us under 405 to then bring in specific acts such as the murder of her children, her husband, and her current husband's wife.
All right.
Which would also be 404B that they withdrew.
That would be
Yeah,
405.
they withdrew it, but if you bring up 404 that you,
Then all
She's like, Lori, you're not a lawyer. You do not understand what's going on. Like, shush. Because she's over here like, oh, they withdrew. They said they weren't going to do this, so they can't bring it in. No, Lori, if you keep talking about being this phenomenal, awesome person, this good person, then we're going to talk about the fact that you unalived your kids, two of your 3 kids, your husband, and your current husband's wife. Like all of that is going to come in. If you keep talking about I'm not a confrontational person, I'm a loving person, all of those things are going to come in, and she still doesn't get it. She still doesn't get it. And so the judge, we're very close to it.
all 404B is in, or do we get a hearing on what 404B can come in?
And she has raised her voice. So what she is doing right now, to me, she is yelling. We're gonna go back just a little bit. We're gonna go back so that we can hear all this together.
Defendant opens the door and tries to advise that she is a good person, a peaceful person, a kind person, a loving person, any of those other types of things that we believe that would allow us under 405 to then bring in specific acts such as the murder of her children, her husband, and her current husband's wife.
All right.
Which would also be 404B that they withdrew.
And that would be
Yeah, they
405.
withdrew it, but if you bring up 404 that
Then
you
all
have-
404B is in, or do we get a hearing on what 404B can come in? If I open the door, do I get a hearing? We stop trial and I get a hearing
have a
on,
very- Stop. We'll have a very short hearing, okay? If you're gonna introduce how you have great character and good character, we're gonna have a short hearing on what evidence that they can bring in to rebut that character, which could
Okay.
include being convicted of 4 murders.
and
So
would you
talk to
like,
your advisory counsel during the break. And
you don't
maybe
need to yell at me either.
they-
I'm,
yelling at you, okay?
yeah, you are. And you do not need to talk
Okay.
to me that way. I'm
Take her
very
out.
courteous.
Take her out.
I'm very courteous to
Take
you.
her out. No, you have been nothing near courteous to me during the course of these proceedings.
Pick her out.
Talk with your advisory council about the rest of your cross. We're going to resume in 15 minutes.
All right.
She's probably still complaining about something. And this all happened outside of the presence of the jury. I was just like, wow. Okay. And she's trying to say, I'm not a confrontational person. And she just is. And so I will play when the judge came back after the break, because to me, this judge is so like just calm, and because he's going to give her the specific language she can use to make sure that she doesn't violate. Like he's going to tell her, this is how you ask the question, which he doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to do that at all. So we'll just watch this part, and then we're going to hop over to our next trial.
Please be seated.
She's still standing. She's not seated yet.
The parties are present, the jury's not present.
The judge isn't going to wait for her to sit.
Ms. Daybell, if you continue to ask lines of questions where I've sustained an objection, into areas where I've sustained an objection, if you continue to speak over me or the prosecutor when it's not your turn to speak, I will give you a chance to speak and make any record that's made. If you continue to do all these things, I may be forced to revoke your pro per status.
Ooh.
I understand, Your Honor. I apologize.
Are we ready to?
So the judge just said, I'm going to make myself big for this part. If you continue to do this, I may revoke your ability to represent yourself. Because, wow. So not even that those other things would come in, but that she might lose the right to be able to represent herself too. Like, and then Cher Bear says, Dr. Berry, do you think she truly believes that she is very loving? Did you see her second interview with the media? Like, she still thinks that she's a good mom. She still thinks that that her kids are happy, and she still thinks she's innocent. She doesn't think that she's done anything wrong, which to me makes her incredibly dangerous. She's not remorseful at all. She doesn't think that she played any role in any of the bad things that have happened. It's almost like she sees the things that have happened as good things. And if it was bad, it wasn't her. So Chad Daybell at least said, hey, if his wife didn't die of natural causes, then it was Lori's fault. Then it was Lori and Alec, like that Chad was brainwashed. I don't know, like her beauty, all those things, like it was all Lori. And Chad had no idea. Chad his team put forth that what happened, if it was a crime, he didn't do it. and he thinks it's a bad thing, and he wasn't involved at all. She she calls it a family tragedy. So Charles Vallow's death, she tried to say it was a family tragedy. She tried to make it sound like he's this horrible person, and I think she feels justified in what happened. I don't think she has any remorse at all, which makes her, in my opinion, incredibly dangerous. All right. Thank you, everyone that's watching. If you can hit that like button, it just helps the algorithm. It really does help. All right. Uh, hey, Tanika. Tanika's 2 cents does a phenomenal job covering cases. She continues to cover Sarah Boone's letters, her custody issues. And so Tanika does a phenomenal job on her channel covering all those things. All right. Just making sure I didn't miss anything in the chat. And when we talk about her delusion, it is her inability to accept information that she does not like. And that's where it can be a fine line between is it psychotic or is it not? But in my opinion, it's to protect her ego. She doesn't want to be seen as a bad person. It reminds me of Sarah Boone desperately not wanting to be seen as a murderer when she was. Mm, that's what happened. A good person would have unzipped this. First of all, you don't put people in suitcases, and then secondly, if they ask to get out, you let them out. You don't record the torture, and that's what she did. So, all right. Is it self-protective delusion? But so it's protecting the ego, but it is dangerous. So to me, even if the answer to yes, it could be self-protective for her being in denial and that delusion, but that's what makes her incredibly dangerous to me. My own personal thoughts. I've never met her. I don't know her personally, so I can't speak about those things, but we just talk here. Thank you, Tanika. Love you, love you. All right. Thank you for the super sticker. Y'all are the best. All right. If y'all have a question, make sure to put the QQQ in front of it. It just makes it easier to see. We are going to just watch the judge tell her exactly how to say it.
Continue with the cross-examination.
Yes, and I'm just going to ask a few questions of clarification.
Go ahead.
I mean, when we get up there, that's fine.
Hmm.
I'm just going to clarify a few things and then I'll move on
You mean with me or with the witness?
with the witness.
Okay, go ahead and get ready at the podium. Depending on when we finish with this witness,
Talk about lunch.
we'll determine when we break for lunch, I guess. It depends.
All right. So let me know if y'all have any other questions. I have the full link to this down in the description. I know Hidden True Crime is covering this. The Lawyer You Know covered aspects. I watched his coverage this morning. Tanika did a video today on this one. I do want to hop over so that we can talk about the Aaron Patterson mushroom case. Let me share my screen so that I can just give you all an overview of this one. This is a very, very sad case, and we are going to talk about this next. So Erin Patterson over all the way on the side. She is currently on trial in Australia for unaliving her in-laws and some of his family. Her ex-husband was not present, so her ex-husband Simon Patterson, she invited him to the dinner where there were poisonous mushrooms. There was a beef Wellington that I think was seasoned with poisonous mushrooms, and she has the receipt where she purchased everything, and she has lied a lot. That's my understanding. There are allegations that she has lied to the prosecution about what happened, of course, but like, you see, just don't say anything, like, but she's lied about things. And she also faked cancer, and so this is the case that we are going to talk about next. I will finish up any questions that we have about Lori. Why does Lori believe if you weren't there or if she wasn't there, it didn't happen or you can't prove it? So she doesn't understand the law. So Lori keeps saying it's only a conspiracy if they can, if somebody heard me tell Alex to do the thing. Like you can't prove conspiracy unless somebody witnessed that conversation. And because Lori in her opening, she says the prosecution wasn't there, all of these people weren't there. I'm gonna parent for a second. Hey buddy, you looking for the iPad? What it's charging downstairs. So you can bring it up. You can listen in your room. You can do YouTube Kids. Okay. Okay. So thank y'all for letting me parent for a second. It's kiddos. I told him he could have the iPad at 2:30 and it's 2:38. So he's like, iPad now. So that's what we did. I have a 7, almost 8-year-old. They're going to be starting summer soon. And so I will not be live next Saturday. And then we also uh but yeah, so I'll talk more about scheduling. I will be live this coming Tuesday. We're going live in the morning at 10:30 a.m. talking about starting a private practice. And then I'll talk about a case that evening as well. All right. So why does Lori believe if you don't believe if you weren't she doesn't understand the law. She doesn't understand. So a person can be convicted, and she was convicted on circumstantial evidence. So the state has circumstantial evidence. They believe that she was involved in all of this, and they're going to present evidence beyond they're going to try to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. It will be up to the jury to decide all of it. Okay. All right. All right. So I appreciate you all. If you all would like to hang out for the next trial, please do. If you're not subscribed here, we talk about true crime and psychology. I will be talking about Ginny in Georgia. That might be what we talk about. If y'all haven't watched, it's a Netflix series. If you don't like, because there are some triggery things, there are trigger warnings for self harm, depression, alcohol, there are and crimes, like there are trigger warnings. I think it's a show that's done well, and I have a lot of thoughts about Georgia, like Georgia. So she's the one that's on trial season 3 for a crime, and we are going to talk about it. So I think we're going to do that this coming Tuesday. Unless Lori does something, and then I might just do it on Lori. And Lori also tries to claim that Tylee unalived JJ, but all the evidence proves that Tylee died first. And so you just can't believe anything Lori says. Um, if Lori says this is how it happened, she's probably lying. I just don't believe her. She lies very, very easily, freely, all the time. And so yeah. Yeah. And so, yes, Tylee died first. And so Lori's thing could not have happened. Jenny in Georgia, the therapist in Jenny in Georgia was also good. So Jenny, who's a teenager, she has a therapist in the show, and I adored her therapist. And so I will see y'all over at the next video, or I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a good one. Bye.